DeMar DeRozan, I think there's a chance that he could be sick on the Sixers team. Like for way cheaper than either one of those guys. He's on an expiring contract as well, making 28 million this year. DeRozan's a mid-range killer. He operates in a ton of the same spots as Tobias. That if we're talking about making a Tobias Harris like swap, like DeRozan to me is he's more good than Tobias Harris and less bad. Like he is a guy that if you make the trade, it's not going to be one that you got to empty all your assets for. That I think he's the cheapest out of the three. You can add him to this roster. You're not going to have the same commitment of like we have to get you all the shots. Like his role will be understood here, or at least that should be made clear to him. DeRozan, if that's a buy low target and the price tag's not much, I would absolutely kick the tires on that.
Yeah, his passing really impressed me in this game. Like as kind of a secondary ball handler, he made some really nice passes to Vucevic and some cutters off of his drives, and I think that's something that he's grown into more recently. He definitely didn't have that early in his career, and that last possession pissed me off. That is not a foul on Tobias, and he gets that call because that's the area he operates. He's very savvy. But I agree with you. Like if it's a Tobias for DeRozan swap, like definitely
It's an
makes
upgrade.
sense. It's
Yeah.
an upgrade. DeRozan is not a great defender, from what I'm gathering. And that would be like if he's playing your 3 or 4, kind of sucks. To like for that guy to not be a good defender just because of how many great wings you'll be playing, throughout a potential playoff run. But definitely something you can work out, right? I feel like you can always figure that out to some level. But yeah, he impressed me. Like I'm in the boat of like if you're gonna do a deal with the Bulls, get 2 of the 3. Like
Okay.
find out a way to get them both. Then like the price tag of like, okay, we're paying 2 first-round picks, and whatever else you might have to add in to make that work. For both sides, I'm in on trying to get a little bit more than just Caruso. It makes that feel a little bit better. You know what I mean? And then with DeRozan, he's expiring as well, right?
Yep. Yeah, he
So
is.
you still maintain that cap space going into the summer, with a playoff run hopefully under everyone's belt, and he's a
Very
guy
true.
that like his offense translates to the playoffs. Like things tighten
Yes.
up. DeMar DeRozan's a tough bucket getter, and down the stretch of a game, also a guy that can create and take tough shots when things get tough.
That was gonna be my next point is I do feel like that's a box that's unchecked on this team is we know what Embiid can do, obviously, but there are some inherent just struggles with a big man getting his shot in certain situations, especially in a playoff setting. Embiid is certainly well aware of that at this point. Maxey is like taking his leap forward and has some isolation ability, but he's not like a tough bucket getter to the extent where you have to be in the playoffs, at least right now. DeMar DeRozan is. Like I very much think there's like a section of the shot clock that DeRozan can just go out and get to this mid-range spot and get a bucket that like I can visualize him hitting big shots in the postseason with a Sixers uniform on.
Yeah.
And by the way, like let's not forget when he first came to the Bulls, which was 2 years ago. I know he was such short-term memory when like covering the NBA, but he was like an MVP candidate. He was in that conversation to start out.
Yeah.
He averaged 27.9 points per game with the Bulls his first year. Now, once again, that was 2 seasons ago. This year, he's shooting or averaging 22.2 points per game this year. I that's something that I think hasn't got enough like legitimate conversation. And if DeRozan's like not an expensive deal whatsoever, I think I would absolutely jump on that from the Sixers perspective.
Yeah. It's tough because I do wonder what like with his limitations, like if it hurts in certain moments. Like obviously the mid-range scoring is great. But he's gonna need more of a market share of the Sixers offense to like be effective in that way. The defensive inefficiencies are worrisome at times, but like you said, I think uh, the undeniable fact about DeMar DeRozan is like he's a scorer. He is elite in that way. And the Sixers haven't had like that
He,
complementary offense.
he was an all-star last year.
Yeah,
Like he's still, I think,
yeah,
got it. Like,
yeah,
and I feel way better when you're kind of spacing out these rotations and lineups when you can have two of the four of like when we're talking about generating offense, Joel Embiid, Tyrese Maxey, Kelly Oubre, and DeMar DeRozan. I feel a lot better about that four than I do with Tobias Harris over DeRozan as kind of your key pieces there.
yeah. I also think like you can get it gives you like a lot more. Like there's just more juice there
Yeah.
than what you have with Tobias. And like if you have it, like even with Oubre, like I think that he's going to find himself getting more minutes as the year goes on. He kind of gets back into the swing of things, but like adding Oubre into any of these lineups just gives you just a little bit more sauce. Just like all around, just
Yeah.
like ball handling, athleticism up
Athleticism,
and
yeah.
down, vertically, horizontally, just the whole thing where Tobias is just, like, slow, oh, like, just gentle, like, he's just way too gentle in the shit that he
Yes,
does.
that yeah.
It's just all, like, I don't know, and DeRozan is gonna be in that like, he's gonna operate in this a similar capacity, but he just does it with a little bit more ferocity,
He's
and
a killer.
he's
He's
a
more of a
killer. He
killer.
is a
Yeah.
killer. He's an assassin scorer.